Hey friends, and welcome back to our virtual sewing club. Today I'm going to show you how to make yarn out of things like old t-shirts or leggings. I really like this yarn because it is easy to make and you can use it for a lot of things. You can knit with it, you can crochet with it, and you can also use it to make things like straps for bags, which we're going to do today, or you can use them as straps for masks. All right, what you need for this video is something old and stretchy that is round, like a t-shirt or pants or whatever, that you have permission to cut up. You need some good scissors and maybe some chalk. Make sure that your scissors are fabric scissors, and if you don't have any, try kitchen scissors. They tend to be the next best thing. All right, let's get started. Okay, so we are ready to get started making these old leggings into yarn. The first thing you want to do is cut off anything like a hem to make it a little bit easier. Next, you want to cut everything into tubes. So for this, I'm going to cut the legs off, and I'm going to use this part and the legs. I see that I've got a little hole here, so I'm just going to cut that part off too, because that's not going to work to make yarn. All right, now I'm just gonna cut straight across here to get that little bit for the bum out. And then I'm gonna cut off this waistband. If you've got any jagged edges like me, now is the time that you wanna cut those off. All right. Now we're ready. So we have a tube and we're ready. What I'm going to do is cut slits almost to one edge, but not all the way through. And we're gonna make them about 2 centimeters or about 1 inch wide. And I'm gonna go all the way across. You can measure if you'd like and mark with some chalk, but you don't have to. The reason why you can do this with stretchy knit fabrics is because knits don't unravel or fray. So we don't have to worry about finishing the edges of these at all. The other reason why I really like making yarn out of leggings or t-shirts is because it's a little bit stretchy and you can use it for a lot of really cool things. All right, I'm gonna keep cutting all the way across and I'll check in with you at that point. Okay, so I've cut my slits all the way across. What's gonna happen now is I'm going to open this up. And you're gonna see how you've got this one little bit that's sort of still attached in the middle. That's what we want. What I'm gonna do now is cut diagonally. So I'm connecting all of these little loops, and it's gonna go in a spiral to create one big long string. So starting at one end, I'm going to cut from this opening to the edge. So the first little bit is going to be on a bit of a diagonal, and I'm going to cut to that first loop. So this comes free. And now it's really easy to tell where you need to cut. So all I'm doing is cutting in between my loops to make one big long string. All right, I'll start at the other end again so you see what I did. All right, so on this end I have my first big loop. I'm gonna start on one side and I'm gonna cut across to my other slit on the other side. And that opens up that loop, and now I just keep cutting between my loops all the way to the other end. All right, I'm gonna continue and I'll meet you when we're done. Okay, so I've cut all of my little loops and I've got one big long continuous string. So I highly recommend that you wrap this into a ball. If you don't, you're probably gonna get some kind of tangles and it's gonna drive you wild. So when we're doing something like this, taking an old piece of clothing or garment or any other kind of textile, that's a fancy word for fabric, and reusing it, we call it upcycling or refashioning. So good on you for doing some upcycling. Okay, so I have my ball. There's a couple of things we can do with this. As I said, you can knit with this if you know how to knit, but I'm gonna show you 2 different ways that you can make a strap today that you can attach to the drawstring bag that we made a couple of weeks ago. So the first thing you can do is braid it. If you don't know how to braid, I'll show you how. What you need are 3 lengths of yarn that are the same length. Braiding is gonna make your yarn shorter, so make sure that you cut strips longer than you think you need. This is one of the reasons why I don't love braiding. You're going to take your 3 strips and you're going to put a knot in the end. To make a knot, what I do is I grab all 3 strips, I wrap them around my fingers, and then I poke them through. And then I pull. All right, so you can pin this to something or you can use a piece of tape to tape it to the table or the floor or wherever you're working to make it a little bit easier. If you don't have anything like that, get someone to hold it. I'm sure you've got a little brother or sister or someone around that can help you. So I've taped it. Now I have 3 strings. What you're doing when you're braiding is taking an outside string and putting it over the middle one to the other side. Okay, the same thing's gonna happen here. We're gonna take the outside one and cross it into the middle. You're always alternating sides. So you go right into the middle, left into the middle. Now you want to occasionally tighten it, okay? And when you get good, you can hold it with your fingers a lot closer. And you can get really fast at it. And yep, this is the same way that you would braid hair. Braids are really cool because they're stronger than just one strand on its own, and it's pretty quick and easy. Be careful that you don't get the ends tangled. And when you get to the end, you're gonna tie it in a knot again. When you've got the length you need, you wrap it around your fingers, pull that end through your loop, and give it a pull. There, now you have a sort of stretchy braided strap. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to finger knit or crochet a starter chain. So this is another way of kind of braiding, but I like this one because you don't have to cut your strands in advance and you can go as long or as short as you need and you know exactly how long your chain is gonna be when you're done. So the first thing you do with one strand is you're gonna make a knot like before. You're going to roll it around your fingers. I'm gonna come through, but instead of grabbing this end, I'm gonna grab the end that's attached to the ball and I'm gonna pull it through. And what I want is to grab a loop. Now I'm gonna take my fingers out and I'm gonna pull my loop while holding the end and the end attached to the ball until it makes a knot. Now, if you hold this string and you pull this one, you can make your loop bigger and smaller. Okay, so we're halfway there. This is the beginning. What you're gonna do now is put your fingers, I use 3 fingers, through that loop. I like to hold the end with my fingers on my palm. You're gonna grab the thread or the yarn and you're gonna pull it through that loop again. And now you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna pull your loop until it tightens. You've made one chain link. Now, this loop is really big. We don't need it to be that big. So I'm going to hold my knot, hold the end, and I'm just gonna pull a little bit till my loop shrinks down to size. Okay, I'm gonna go into my loop again with my fingers. You can use either hand, doesn't matter. I'm gonna grab that long string and I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna make my loop, whoops, a bit smaller, and I'm gonna do it again. I go in, pull it through, make my loop smaller. Sometimes you'll get sticky spots that don't wanna slide through because you've got the seams on the side of your leggings or your t-shirt or whatever, and that's okay, just give it a yank, it should work. And you can see it looks very similar to our first braid, but we're only using one strand. And you can go as long as you want until you run out of thread. You can do this with multiple strands. If you have multiple strands, it just makes it a little trickier. And you keep going until your strap is the length that you want. When you've gotten your chain to the length that you want, what you do to finish it off is really simple. You cut the end attached to the ball of yarn. You put that end through the loop and you pull it until it makes a knot. And there you go. You're done. You've got a chain. A nice stretchy but strong strap. So what do you do with these straps? Well, there's a couple things that you can do. What you could do is sew the ends of your straps into your bag. So you've got a strap. You could do a really long one and wear it across your body. This is really great for kids who are wearing masks to school and have to carry them at recess. This way your hands are free, or if you don't have a pocket, you can put your mask in here. The reason I like these straps is because they're still easy to sew through. Some of the straps that you buy, you can't hand sew. Another thing you could do, if you really wanted, is sew the strap to that back of your bag and make this into a belt. You can tie this around your waist. And again, you have a hands-free bag for anything. Your mask, maybe your puffer, something you need to have at school with you, but you don't want to carry all the time. All right, there you go. You're ready. We have another thing you can make with this next week. Gotta stay tuned.